On top of many of the other things I did for this film, production designer was one of the roles I did, which was to help kind of find the look and feel of the film. And this included discussions with Alicia and Daniel in terms of how we would shoot it, and how we would edit it, and how we would use the lighting in certain scenes, but also came down to the look of the sets and the world.
One of the biggest strengths of this film is the differentiating locations based purely on very similar buildings, but the way that it was designed, it looks like a whole different kind of community. The work that Thousand Year Films did to kind of create these relationships with the people in Medicine Hat and the people in Hilda, to the point where the town of Hilda kind of gave the production access to any building in the community was huge, and nothing I've ever heard of anybody receiving that kind of blessing in filmmaking in my career.
We soon realized that this was going to be a serious and substantial amount of filming that was going to be done in our area. I think that as the word got around, then the support for the project grew in and amongst the people of Hilda.
The town of Hilda is a town that had a few hundred inhabitants in its heyday, which would have been in the 1950s and 60s. There are a lot of buildings that are abandoned or are just used for storage, but some of the backdrops and scenes that can be shot around them, especially because a town like this is one that would get slowly run down, but it really allowed for this shooting of Haven and giving an idea of this settlement and one of the last settlements in this world.
Not only did we have to build up a post-apocalyptic world, this dystopian society where people had very little and we needed it to look old and very worn, but we also needed to have it feel like there was people living here and that these were pieces that they might have scavenged, little moments that they collected, something that felt important enough to put up on a wall.
So we had lots of locations that kind of felt like refugee camps. Everywhere we went, there would be lean-tos or tents. There would be spots that people would have claimed and set up using wood or scraps or anything that they could find.
And you can see it. One of my favorite shots in the movie is Benny running through the encampment.
EFD-02 Bravo, take one.
Action.
I hope right here they're showing you some BTS footage of the city looked like during that shot. It just looks fantastic.
We would scavenge by going through thrift stores and buying things and then distressing them. There were a lot of rural acreages and farms that had old scrap laying around and things like that they gave us permission to kind of go around and collect things and use them for the film. We'd have to wreck everything. We'd be torching things with a tiger torch. We'd be staining things, we'd be breaking things, we'd be nailing things back together, just to kind of make it feel like in this world you had to use whatever resource you could find and everything became valuable.
I'm gonna put the drill here with the wire brush and we're gonna use it to scuff some new things into old things. Just really neat to see how lots of the things that we use in the process of farming can become backdrops. We took cages that we get lots of our chemical in, and there is a metal cage that goes around a plastic container, and when that container is taken out, the cage looks like something that you would, if you were a bad person, you would keep humans in.
Arm for the tripod head?
Yeah, stick number 4.
The sets, when you walked into them, were so well done that you just sort of felt at home.
Where they're sitting down on each show, we could spread the sleeping bag over a bit and then take that.
Okay. There was cardboard on top of
The best set for me was Tent City for a lot of reasons. One, the scope of it was huge, based on the size of the budget for this film. You walk in and you go, how is this possible? How did they make this happen?
My first night out, I just arrived, hadn't put my stuff in my room yet. I found out that a group of people were going to go check out the set.
had just been worked on that day. Not everyone had seen it yet. So I went along with them and I got my first glimpse of Tent City. And I just thought it was so cool.
Yeah, one of my first memories of being on set was walking into the school and particularly the gym to see what Tent City looked like, and I couldn't believe the amount of detail.
We had all these tents everywhere and just like nets and coolers, tarps, like old, all the things that you would collect and put, in this sort of makeshift shanty town.
GRT 05, take 18.
Just walking through it gave me this real sense of the world that these characters were living.
We're starting with Benny at this.
They had really done a bang-up job of just making it look like it was this like dilapidated, lived-in area where people who had to make a home.
Tent City was one of the primary ones that I designed and put together with Christian Blazina, and this was one instance where we were collecting things and then brought it in and just kind of designed the look and feel and the functionality of Tent City based on what we had. How would we set this place up? And that's kind of how it came to be.
It was so well done. It was so well thought of. And it was so well executed, both in the filmmaking and by the actors. And we spent a lot of time in there, so we eventually just became comfortable with each other and with the set. It was cozy. I don't know how they did that, but it was cozy.
I was so tired one day and I went into Tent City where Mara hangs out and sleeps. I just took a nap, and I remember they were shooting a scene right beside me. I remember waking up and looking over and they're like, oh shit, they're sleeping. And I just went back to sleep. So it was very nice. So I clearly felt at home in Tent City.
EPO 09B, take 8.
Remington's Tavern.
Some of the things that he points to, like toys and whatever. But
Yeah.
Maybe they're actually tools and things like that. Almost like torture. I know some things you could have some fun with, type of thing.
Yeah.
And then if we just stick stuff hanging on the pegboard, like things for sale, even signage.
Really wanted this place to be kind of a trading post. It was a tavern, but also somewhere that you would go to barter, trade, buy contraband or whatever you were into.
One of my favorite stories about helping build the set for Remington's was getting to order some special things for behind Remington. Remington's is also like a brothel type setting.
We decided to put a bunch of sex toys up on this pegboard. We just thought it, went with kind of this place, it has anything that you need type of thing.
I absolutely destroyed the 1,000 Year Films Amazon algorithm by searching and hunting for various types of sex toys.
And we knew that we would be filming when it was going to arrive, so we just had it shipped to Victoria's house.
And did not warn my husband what would be arriving.
Most people are ordering from Amazon all the time, so you're getting these packages of whatever you usually order and you just open them. And the same happened to Victoria's husband, who received a box from Amazon and opened it
and got a very wonderful surprise as he's pulling out harnesses and whips and gags and the whole 9 yards, nipple clamps, everything. And he was just like, do you have something to tell me?
The actor who played Remington. Shoot. Oh, now I've totally lost it.
I don't think I really knew the half of it until I actually got on set. I don't think I realized quite how far this and depraved this character really was. And I saw that environment, like the signs, the tools, and of course the sex toys. I was like, okay, I gotta take the weirdness and the creepiness and I gotta turn it up 5 notches from where I thought I was gonna have to play this.
When you watch the scene, you kind of feel a little scummy, a little gritty. It's gorgeous.
Cut.
We wanted the town to feel kind of migrant, like it's a living organism. So some people had their own places that were kind of theirs and claimed, but also that you would just kind of move around and you'd find spots to stay day by day. And so what's in front of the school looks different each day based on who's camped out there. We would have squatters starting to encroach on Knox's shop. Is this your shop?
More or less. Now with Squatters Village moving in, feels like less.
In the church, sometimes it looked a little more clean, and then other times there was full-on refugee camp in there again. And so as time would pass, different tents would pop up, different lean-tos would pop up, and then other times it'd be taken down and move and almost give it this weird random kind of feel to it, as if it's moving around.
And not just the town of Hilda was used as a backdrop, but we had quite a few people who were quite interested in this production that were willing to put in time as people who were helping as crew, and as many who were able to be background, and even some were actors within the film. One that comes to mind is pastor of one of the churches in Hilda, had quite a prominent role as the madman.
Yet the sound of the grave diggers reached our ears. Who gave us the ink to blot out the horizon?
I remember one of my first days on set before I, drank the 1,000-Year Films Kool-Aid and was kind of full in. I got to set and there was 30 to 40 background performers on set, which is hard to do as an independent filmmaker. Even if it's big budget, union, you only have to be on set for 3 hours, it's hard to get 40 people to come and just kind of hang around and fill in an environment. So that's a huge testament to 1,000-Year Films, which is just talks more about the community that they made and the trust that they've put into people, they've received back, the belief into the story.
Well, I didn't realize that it was upwards of 80 people, but it doesn't surprise me that there were that many involved. And I would have to say it's probably the friendliest invasion that you could ever expect, because everyone was respectful and considerate. It was easy to work with everyone, and I think there was a general camaraderie with everyone in town. And
one thing that really stood out to me, I think this was probably my third or fourth picture that I'd been involved in, and what really stood out with me on this one was the positivity in the workspace.
Victoria and Alicia, Nathan, everybody, as they would come in through the background holding area, whether or not doing makeup or whatever, they were always super, wanting to know you, and not just, you weren't just standing there to be a body in their movie. They wanted to know you, they wanted to know why you were there, they wanted you to have a good time and feel comfortable.
As we approached people, some of them wanted to be in front of the camera, and others had no desire to be physically a part of the production, but they really enjoyed being able to let us utilize their locations and their equipment and all sorts of things like that.
I feel like it opened my eyes to how genuinely generous human beings can still be. With all that's going on in our world today, with how easy it is for us not to trust each other, working with people or meeting the people of Hilda, of the town of Hilda, it made me believe once again in humanity, in the generosity of humanity, and how kind people can actually be.
It was definitely a unique experience, not probably the first time that sort of thing has ever happened in our area.
I think it was something that kind of brought the community together in a little way.
We really appreciated how they welcomed us with open arms, and it felt like this was the community's film, and we were all creating it together.